The rain hammered against the chapel windows like a warning. Pastor Ezekiel sat alone in the sanctuary, his head bowed in prayer, when the voice came. Not audible, but undeniable. "Go to the bridge, now." He grabbed his coat without question. 20 years of ministry had taught him to recognize when God spoke. The storm grew violent as he drove through the empty streets of Lagos. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the abandoned flyover ahead. Then he saw them. 3 children, no older than 10, standing at the edge of the bridge in the pouring rain. Behind them stood a man in an expensive agbada, his face hidden beneath an umbrella. The pastor's blood ran cold. He knew exactly what he was witnessing. The ritual had already begun. If you're enjoying the story already, please subscribe and comment where you're watching from. God bless you. Everything started 3 days earlier. Chief Adewale was a name whispered in boardrooms and feared in back alleys. Billionaire, property mogul, untouchable. But his empire was crumbling. Loans were being called in. Partners were withdrawing. Rivals were circling like vultures. He had built everything on borrowed power, and now the debt collectors from the other side were demanding payment. His native doctor had been clear. 3 innocent souls. Children who had never known love, whose disappearance would barely be noticed. The ritual required rain, darkness, and absolute secrecy. Chief Adewale had found them easily. Street children sleeping under the Oshodi Bridge, forgotten by the world. He'd promised them food, shelter, a new life. They'd followed him willingly. Now they stood on the precipice between this world and the next, and he was about to push them over. Pastor Ezekiel slammed on his brakes. The chief turned, startled. Rain streamed down both men's faces as they locked eyes across the distance. "Step away from those children," the pastor commanded, his voice cutting through the storm. Chief Adewale laughed, a sound like gravel scraping metal. "Pastor, this doesn't concern you. Go back to your church and your prayers. This is business." But the pastor was already moving forward. The children looked at him with hollow eyes, drugged or enchanted. He couldn't tell which. They swayed at the edge, their small bodies silhouetted against the lightning. "In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to release them," Pastor Ezekiel declared. The chief's smile faltered. Something in the air shifted. The rain seemed to pause mid-fall. "You don't know who you're dealing with," the chief hissed. "I know exactly who I'm dealing with," the pastor replied. "A man who sold his soul and now wants to purchase his future with innocent blood." The confrontation lasted 7 minutes, but it felt like hours. Chief Adewale tried to approach the children, but each time he moved, the pastor blocked his path. The battle wasn't physical. It was spiritual warfare made visible. The pastor prayed in tongues. The chief's hands trembled with rage and something else. Fear. The darkness around them seemed alive, pressing in, resisting the light. Then one child, a little girl with braided hair, blinked, once, twice. The fog lifted from her eyes. She looked at the pastor, then at the chief, then at the terrifying drop below. She screamed. The sound shattered whatever spell had held them. The other 2 children stumbled backward, suddenly aware of where they were. The pastor rushed forward, pulling them away from the edge, wrapping them in his arms. Chief Adewale stood frozen, his ritual ruined, his sacrifice denied. The rain began again, heavier now, as if the heavens were washing away the evil that had almost been committed. "You've made an enemy tonight, Pastor," the chief spat. "No," Pastor Ezekiel responded, shielding the trembling children. "You made an enemy the moment you chose darkness over light." Chief Adewale turned and fled into the night. The pastor didn't chase him. He had a different priority now. He loaded the children into his car, their small bodies shivering from cold and shock. At the church, his wife met them with blankets, hot food, and tears. The children couldn't explain what had happened. They remembered the nice man with money. They remembered feeling sleepy. They remembered standing somewhere high. Everything else was fragments. Over the following days, the story pieced itself together. Chief Adewale's native doctor was arrested after a raid on his shrine revealed evidence of previous rituals. Bodies were found. Parents finally got answers. The chief himself vanished. Some said he fled to Benin Republic. Others whispered that the powers he'd served had come to collect their own payment. The 3 children stayed at the church's orphanage. Slowly, life returned to their eyes. They laughed again. They played again. They learned that not all adults were dangerous, that not all promises were traps. Pastor Ezekiel never spoke publicly about that night. He didn't need to. The children's survival was testimony enough. But sometimes, during the late-night prayer sessions, he would remember the rain, the lightning, the voice that sent him to the bridge. He would remember how close evil had come to victory, and how thin the line was between darkness and light. "Why me?" he once asked God. "Why did you send me?" The answer came not in words, but in the sound of children's laughter echoing through the church courtyard. Some battles are fought with weapons, others are fought with faith. And sometimes the greatest victory is simply showing up when heaven calls, even when the rain is falling, even when the night is dark, even when evil stands between you and 3 small souls who deserve to see tomorrow. For more stories like this, please like and subscribe. Thank you.